Welcome, everyone. Let's tune in today on a deep dive podcast about one of our favorite YouTube channels, Sugar High, by P.A. David Doraguzzi. I'm switching you over to the podcast team now, and we'll have more input at the end, so stay with us. Thanks for being here at Senior Simple Solutions.
Okay, so let's be honest for a second. Who hasn't spent like hours scrolling through health advice online? But when we're talking about something as complex as diabetes, figuring out what's true and what's not, it can be like trying to walk through a minefield blindfolded, you know? That's why in this deep dive, we're going to check out a YouTube channel called Sugar High. It's run by this guy, P.A. David.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about this channel is that P.A. David has almost 20 years of experience, not just treating patients with diabetes, but also doing research and teaching other healthcare providers about it. He saw for himself just how much bad information is out there, so he wanted to create a place where people could learn about diabetes in a way that's accurate and engaging and clear.
And I think his approach is really interesting. He doesn't pretend diabetes is simple, but he manages to explain things in a way that makes sense, even if you don't have a medical degree. Like there's this one video where he explains the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes, using a car analogy. It's actually pretty clever.
I think that's a really good example of why Sugar High is so popular. He uses these analogies and visuals that people can relate to make it easier to understand these complicated ideas. And he's very clear about his background and experience right from the start of his videos. So you know he's not just some random person online. He's a qualified and experienced practitioner.
Right. And he makes it very clear in every video that what he's talking about isn't a replacement for seeing a doctor.
Yeah.
He always says that people should have their own healthcare provider.
Absolutely. It's about giving people the knowledge so they can make informed decisions, not encouraging them to self-diagnose. P.A. David always tells people to talk to their doctor about what they learn on his channel and use that to create a plan that's personalized for them.
So beyond, the credentials and the disclaimers, what kind of topics does Sugar High actually cover?
So in one of his videos that gets a lot of views, P.A. David talks about insulin. It can be really confusing for a lot of people. So he explains how the different types work and why doctors prescribe them. He even shows people how to use different devices, like insulin pumps.
It's almost like getting advice from an expert, but without having to go to the doctor's office. And he doesn't just tell you what to do, he explains why you should be doing it.
Exactly. And one thing I found interesting was a video where he talks about the A1C test, that glycosylated hemoglobin test.
Yeah, that's always sounded kind of complicated. How does he explain it?
Well, he calls it like a report card for your blood sugar. It shows you and your doctor how well your blood sugar has been controlled over the past few months. And it helps you track your progress over time and adjust your treatment plan if you need to.
Okay, so that actually makes a lot more sense. See, I'm already learning things just from talking about this channel. He covers a lot of different topics, from the basics to the more advanced stuff.
Yeah, he does. He also has videos about practical things like traveling if you have diabetes, what to eat. And he even reviews new diabetes technology, like those continuous glucose monitors.
So it's like a really comprehensive resource for people.
Yeah.
Whether they have diabetes themselves.
Yeah.
Or just want to learn more about it.
Exactly. And he does it all with a sense of humor, which I think is important when you're talking about something that can be pretty overwhelming for people.
Definitely. So we've talked about P.A. David's experience and how he explains things. But what do you think really makes Sugar High stand out?
Well, I'd say his commitment to keeping up with the latest research is really impressive. Like in one of his recent videos, he talks about a new type of diabetes medication called SGLT2 inhibitors. And he explains how they work in a way that anyone can understand, even if you don't know anything about medicine.
Okay, so now I'm definitely curious about these SGLT2 inhibitors.
Yeah.
What's so different about them?
Well, the interesting thing about SGLT2 inhibitors is that they work completely differently than other diabetes medications. They actually help your kidneys get rid of extra sugar from your blood by making you pee it out. And this not only lowers your blood sugar, but it can also help you lose weight. And there's even some evidence that it might be good for your heart.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's not just about managing your blood sugar. It's about taking care of all these different aspects of your health that are connected to diabetes.
Exactly. And P.A. David is really good at showing how everything fits together. He emphasizes that managing diabetes isn't just about taking pills, it's about making changes to your lifestyle, like what you eat and how much you exercise. And working with your doctor to create a plan that works for you.
Yeah, it sounds like he really believes in giving people the knowledge they need to take control of their health. It makes me wonder what kind of impact online education like this is having on healthcare in general?
Well, I think it's part of a bigger trend, where people are going online to find out about their health. It's like having access to a library of medical information anytime you want.
But of course, there's so much information out there. It can be hard to know what's reliable.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's where channels like Sugar High can really make a difference. P.A. David is always clear about where he gets his information. He often talks about research studies and medical guidelines to support what he's saying.
And he's always careful to remind people that he's not their doctor and that they should talk to their own healthcare provider.
Exactly. It's about helping people become more informed, not trying to replace doctors.
I wonder if this kind of thing could actually lead to better conversations between patients and their doctors. Like if patients came in having already done some research and were more prepared to talk about their health.
Yeah, I think so. It changes the relationship from the patient just listening to the doctor to them working together as a team.
I like that. A team effort.
Yeah.
So for someone listening who doesn't have diabetes, why should they care about a channel like this? What's the takeaway for them?
I think the important thing is to be careful about what you read online, no matter where you get your health information, whether it's a video on YouTube or a blog post, or even just talking to a friend. You should always think about where the information is coming from and whether there's any evidence to support it.
And whether it makes sense for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's about being a little skeptical and taking charge of your own health literacy.
So besides just learning about diabetes, what are some of the bigger lessons we can learn from the way P.A. David approaches online health education?
Well, I think one of the key takeaways is the importance of telling stories and using examples that people can relate to. P.A. David doesn't just throw facts at you. He tries to make them interesting and memorable.
He uses humor, and he tells stories about his own life. And those analogies we talked about before.
Right. And he makes people feel like they're part of a community by responding to comments and questions and doing those live streams where people can talk to him directly.
So it's like a safe space where people can ask questions.
Yeah. And that's something you don't always get in a traditional healthcare setting.
So if we could use these ideas to teach people about other health and science topics, what kind of impact could that have?
That's a good question. Imagine if we could help people understand mental health better and get rid of the stigma around things like anxiety and depression.
Or what if we could make nutrition science more interesting and engaging? Instead of just talking about calories, we could explore gut health and how food affects our moods.
Yeah, and we shouldn't forget about older people. We could create resources that help them as they get older with things like staying sharp mentally and finding purpose and connection.
There are so many possibilities. P.A. David has shown us that we can make even complicated topics easy to understand and enjoyable to learn about. So it's inspiring to think about how this kind of approach could change how we learn about health and how we take care of ourselves.
I agree. And I think what Sugar High really shows us is that health education isn't just about giving people facts. It's about making a connection, meeting people where they are, understanding their concerns, and giving them the tools to manage their own health.
And making it fun, too. P.A. David proves that learning about health doesn't have to be boring or scary. He uses humor and personality and those great analogies we talked about.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between being an expert and being entertaining, giving people accurate information, but making it easy to understand and engaging.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into Sugar High, what's the one thing you hope people will take away from this?
I think the most important message is that we all have a responsibility to be involved in our own health education. It's not just about listening to doctors or experts. It's about being curious, asking questions, and finding reliable information.
It's about being proactive about our health.
Exactly.
Leaving the podcast team now and thanking them for the info and insight into Sugar High. Thanks for sticking it out to this point. Very grateful that P.A. David has given us permission to share his informative and entertaining videos with our viewers. As mentioned in an earlier video about Sugar High, this channel and P.A. David are near and dear to my heart. This was literally a lifesaver for me. Please enjoy the video posts that are coming up from Sugar High on our Senior Simple Solutions channel.